One of the new and exciting things in the demolition world is a unique effort to promote women in the field. DemoChicks.com promotes programs, news, and resources for increasing women in the industry, along with other opportunities to support women in construction and demolition. Here to talk at DemoChicks.com is the founder, Robin Thorne. Robin is also CEO of CTI Environmental and has over 15 years of experience in the area of regulatory compliance. Her emphasis has been written plan development, audits and assessments, emergency planning, hazardous materials management, and training. Robin is committed to the vision of sharing her resources and experience through DemoChicks.com to empower women of all ages who may choose the same path. Well, Robin, thank you very much for making some time with us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Well, it's our pleasure. I think it's going to be a great discussion. What I first wanted to ask you about is just for a little bit of background about you. So would you mind telling us how you got started in the industry and maybe a little bit about your company as well?
Well, one of the reasons why I chose chemical engineering as a field of study is because of my interest in mathematics and science. My love for mathematics and science. I wanted a career where I could use that skill set. And also I had an uncle who's an electrical engineer. He went to Brown University. And so he was one of my role models. And that's how I found myself in this career. I started my career as a manufacturing engineer. And what I found was I wasn't really excited about being in a plant all day. And so I moved over to the regulatory compliance side. And that's where it all began for me.
That's great. That sounds really neat. It's neat that it started from an interest in math and science. So with that, experience in the industry, I'm sure that, of course, played a big part in your interest in founding DemoChicks. So could you tell us a little bit about the way that came to start? What inspired you to do so? How did that kind of come about?
Well, it's a long story, but I know we have limited time, so I'll shorten it. With CPI, we're a consulting company, but we're also a general contractor. So we have an A license with a hazard endorsement. And as a result of that, we focused on abatement and remediation. We had an opportunity to demolish a prison. There were 100+ structures, single story, 2-story, and some tanks. And as a result of that project, I realized the opportunity available and how there weren't a lot of women in that space and a lot of minorities in that space. So I saw it as a way for us to grow and gain more market share. And another thing that I thought about, there's a big emphasis in STEM and there's an emphasis in women in construction, but no one was talking specifically about demolition. And when I looked at that project and I saw the different components, from procuring it to the hazardous material assessment to the actual demolition, disposal, I saw a curriculum actually where we could walk girls through that process, and there's so much to take away. There was so much to take away from that project. So as a result of that, and conversations with one of my good friends and fellow chemical engineers from New Jersey, we launched DemoChicks.
So I wanted to ask you about what kinds of resources there were out there prior to DemoChicks coming around. You touched on a little bit about it when you were talking about demolition specifically. So I wanted to just ask about your experience prior to DemoChicks and ask you what kinds of resources there were out there and how women could grow and learn in the field.
Well, initially, I didn't know of a lot of resources that were available. My focus was on networking and building the company, and I was fortunate enough to connect with individuals who saw something in me or saw how committed I was and serious I was about building my business, and so they mentored me along the way. And so I took good notes. I showed up at the project site. Even if it wasn't a CPI project, I was there to learn how to execute the project, and I asked a lot of questions about the different pieces of equipment, the different parts of the project, what was happening now, and why use that piece of equipment versus another type of equipment, and what types of permits were needed. So I asked a lot of questions. I did a lot of networking and went to a lot of industry events, and so that's how I learned.
That's very interesting. And so now with Demo Chicks, that's out there. I took a look at the website. I thought it was really impressive, and I wanted to see if you could expand a little on the resources that are available through Demo Chicks, some of the programs, resources, ways of getting involved, just some of the things that could be accessed by going to the website and getting involved with Demo Chicks.
Well, Demo Chicks was launched to serve not only young people, so we want to expose or introduce girls to the industry. We want them to know that the industry exists. And we do this by going out to schools and talking about our careers. And what we found is that the younger students, they like show and tell, right? So they want to see the safety gear, the hard hats. So we make that educational. We explain the difference between a level 2 vest versus a level 3 vest. And we talk about the equipment and the different attachments. But then for the older students, whether they're going into college or they're graduating from college, we have women who are in the field who can mentor them so that they don't feel like they're all alone. And then the third component is women who are currently in the field. We provide support to them as well. So we're looking to capture women at all ages, girls and women, and just make it comprehensive. Another avenue that we have are site visits, where we've connected with primes, GCs, where we can have site visits for students so that they can go out to a project site and actually, not hands-on because it's not going to be able to operate the equipment, of course, but explain the process. Like we have a project right now that the building is still standing. It's a major project in downtown Long Beach. And we are trying to get permission now to have the girls go to the site before the building is demolished and then after the fact, so that they can, they get an idea of the entire process.
Wow, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, we actually haven't been given permission yet, but that was we've had some conversations locally, like wouldn't that be great, whether it be Long Beach City College or they have a female leadership academy with Long Beach Unified School District. How can we expose these girls to this project, because it's a high profile project. And one of the things that we want to do with the website, we're considering a membership so that there are tools and resources available that our members can log into that may not be accessible to the general public. We want to be a resource as well. So if there are internships available from some of the local firms, we want to make those available on our site. So we want to be considered the go-to site for all things demolition. And that's not just limited to Southern California area. I mean, we have people have expressed interest in Demo Chicks in New Orleans, in Atlanta, in Philadelphia. So we're looking at ways to expand our programs and make them sustainable.
So that really leads me into my next question, which is kind of a two-part question. And it's the first part is what the response has been to Demo Chicks, and it sounds like there's been a very positive response to it. And then also I wanted to see if you had any insights into the future of the industry with regard to women getting involved. Do you see more women getting involved now than in previous years, and that continuing to kind of uptick? I don't know if you had any thoughts on that as well.
Well, there has been an overwhelming positive response to Demo Chicks, which is surprising, not because it's not a good program, but we were thinking, well, there's STEM, like STEM has been around for quite some time, and women in construction, so there are other programs, but the feedback that I'm getting from people is that because I am a Demo Chick, I am the person that's doing the work, that's what makes this different. Because people have said to me that this isn't something that I have to do. I can continue to build my company and, just go about my business. But the fact that I'm reaching out and serving as a role model, as an example to the girls that we're introducing to our programs, that's what makes Demo Chicks special. So it's really exciting just to see people's reaction. When we do a trade show, we have a 5-foot Demo Chick. and people are taking pictures with her. And in the age of social media, they want to do a selfie with the demo chick. So it's really exciting, and people, it's they just really they love demo chick. I'm ready to have my own cartoon series with demo chick. The and then as far as the future, this seems to be the best time for women in non-traditional careers, because we're seeing it everywhere. I mean, we're seeing posters of women in hard hats, vests, where we might see one or two. We're seeing crews of women. On our social media, we have a Instagram account, and we're doing research to find women all over the world, not just locally, who are breaking through barriers and doing things different. Like we found an all-woman fire crew. You know, we're finding just remarkable things that women are doing in the industry, and we're highlighting those, and we're sharing that information. So we're connecting with women at another level all over, and it's just a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, and more and more women are wanting to be involved. One of the things that you can find on our website, we're actually interviewing women who are in the field, and we say that to be a demo chick, you're not limited to the demolition industry, because you may never knock down a wall, but if you smash through the glass ceiling, if you've broken through barriers, if you're a trailblazer, you know, making and clearing the path for others, then that makes you a demo chick as well.
Absolutely. So for our listeners who are interested and would like to get some more information, they can go to demochicks.com. I think that would be the best place. I'll leave it to you to say whether that's true or not. And I also wanted to just see if you would be able to say whether they could support Demo Chicks through the website. For listeners who want to get more involved and some more information, what's the best way?
Definitely go to demochicks.com. There's a Join the Movement tab. There's a Donate tab. There's a Shopify account where people can purchase T-shirts with a demo chick on it and post on social media, share the word. You know, we feel like we're a movement, and there's a lot of excitement around demo chicks, but definitely visit our website at demochicks.com.
Well, this is definitely very exciting, and we were so glad to have you on our podcast, Robin. I think it was a great conversation, and I know that our listeners will be really interested in the work that you're doing, and hopefully we can stay in touch and get an update soon. So, Robin, thanks so much for joining our podcast.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you reaching out to us and giving me this opportunity to speak to your listeners.
On July 17th, the House passed H.R. 748, the Middle Class Health Benefits Tax Repeal Act, which would permanently repeal the so-called Cadillac tax included in the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. The Cadillac tax is a 40% excise tax on the most expensive employer-sponsored health insurance plans, those worth about $11,200 for individuals and $30,100 for families. It is scheduled to go into effect in 2022. The bill passed by a sizable margin of 419 to 6 on the House floor and should get serious consideration in the Senate. On July 18th, the House passed H.R. 582, the Raise Wage Act, which would raise the federal minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 by 2025. The bill would index future increases in the federal minimum wage to median wage growth and would phase out the sub-minimum wage for youth workers and individuals with disabilities. This legislation is not likely to receive a vote on the Senate floor, which is controlled by the Republicans. NDA is currently working on providing OSHA with comments on the Silica in Construction rule. Finalized several years ago, the rule contains several challenges for demolition work. With an upcoming request for information from OSHA, NDA will be submitting comprehensive written comments on behalf of the industry. We'll have more on that in the coming weeks. In addition, NDA is currently working on several other regulatory comments, including on the Department of Defense payments for contractors, proposed regulations on lockout, tagout, and apprenticeships, among others. We will be keeping membership informed on the Government Affairs Committee's work on federal regulatory comments. In the coming weeks, NDA will be launching its first ever grassroots advocacy platform via the NDA website. This platform will allow members to communicate with their elected officials with just a couple of mouse clicks and will boost the association's influence in Washington. In addition, NDA is building a regulatory compliance assistance portal that will assist members with questions about federal regulations, such as those from OSHA. Look for a communication shortly from NDA announcing each of these. That concludes this episode of the podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.